Okay, good evening, everyone. It is June 22nd, and we are still have a good amount of time left in June, which is amazing. We have a full week and one day, and we're literally hitting still record numbers and record promotions and just tons of things, great things happening right now. If you're new to Scentsy, you may not have heard this before. Um, there's like this myth that the June months are like the worst months of the calendar year. That but this proves that when your mind is focused and your mindset is focused on working, and you don't tell yourself that people don't want to buy, that business keeps going. And so when I joined, I didn't know about that, so my mind wasn't there, and so I just kept working normally and wanting to grow my business. And so whether it was June or July, my business just kept growing. So the fact that you came in during the months that people tend to think that, oh, my business is going to slow down because it's summer and whatever things they tell yourself, in your head, because you started like I did in the spring, you're excited and you're on fire and you want to share. It just shows that we really are the factor of whether we're going to make our business grow or not, depending, and especially, and it doesn't matter what season it is. So we have Sharon on. I wanted to congratulate her because she's on live. She just hit sensational start level 3. That is a huge deal. Only 2% of the company actually hit that, and generally those people generally go on to becoming directors and above because they are building a strong foundation in their business in their first 70 days. They're sponsoring people immediately and helping them grow as well, and also having a good foundation of sales, which is that that baseline to be able to get their minimum in as far as a leader, as well as help their team. So that's super exciting. We haven't had anybody earn level 3 in a little while. I know there was somebody recently, but it's been a while for that. I can't think of the person off the top of my head. That's why I mean it's been a little bit. So it's really exciting when people do hit level 3. And forgive me if you hit it and I didn't say anything on this specific call. It's not because I don't care. It's because I don't have a report in front of my head. And I just saw Sharon and I just wanted to, we were just talking about it. So if you've hit level 1, 2, or 3, it's amazing. It basically is like 2% hits level 3, 4% hits level 2, and I think it's like 6% or 7% hits level 1. So it's still a small percentage, and it's still, oh, sorry, I have a fly like going around my face. It's a great thing to do. And basically when you hit those goals, it's because you're focused on goals from the get-go. And that's what all of us need to do, is realize that our businesses are built off of goals, small and long-term, and daily, weekly, monthly. And so when you're turning your mindset towards goals from the get-go, you just see an amazing business start to develop. So congratulations, everyone. I just want to make sure that if you aren't aware, we have some new LTOs available, which is limited time offers. Make sure that you're letting your customers know about that. And on the 18th, because we haven't had a call since last week, we have some updates coming up about Scentsy Club. So I really hope that you take the time to go read about that in the news tab. There's going to be a lot of changes happening, which are going to be good for our business. And I hope that you look at Scentsy Club as a tool. It's literally a tool for your business. So you can literally goal yourself. We're talking about goals, to getting as many Scentsy Club memberships as possible. So you can literally know that your minimum sales is already going to be there every month. And then everything else is just bonus, building past your 2,000 every month, as well as you become a leader and building a team, you're focusing on your team members and coaching them and you know, helping them by supporting them with what their needs are. So Scentsy continues to give us a ton of tools in our business in order to be successful. And so if you're not taking advantage of all those tools, it's really a shame, because you really have a great opportunity to, you know, have a residual income coming in and not be struggling, because it really has to do with a mindset of what you believe in your business. Tomorrow's Tuesday call from the home office is about mindset. So I really hope everybody logs onto that, because this business is all about mindset, everyone. The products are literally a slam dunk. The business model is a slam dunk. The people that end up becoming successful and achieving their goals, whatever successful means to you, are the people that have their mindset shifted in a positive manner. So, and they're looking at it as an opportunity instead of negativity against whatever they're struggling with. They look at it on a positive way. So mindset is huge. So I really hope you guys tap into that. Okay. There really isn't any other things that except for like, be very consistent with checking the news tab as far as the shipping. They're trying to update us to let us know where they're at. Right now they're shipping June 8th through 10th. So instead of letting your clients freaking out about where's my stuff, it's so important to give them periodic updates so they don't think you just forgot about them, or, you know, you're, you know, what's it called? Storing their product somewhere and forgetting that you need to get it to them, or whatever they even say in their little heads. They may think that you ran off with their money or something. So make sure that you give them periodic updates on what's going on. And the last thing I'll say before I introduce our awesome guest is that remember that you are your business. So if you are speaking negative about the shipping process, you're only speaking negative about your business and basically passing on negativity to your clients. So you have to be your biggest fan and your company's biggest fan and support them. And remember that when we are having sales the way we are, that means that you're in the right business, that it's a high demand product, a high demand company and successful company. And just make sure that people are looking at it that way, because they will if you do. So again, people have patience when they're just recognized. So just a quick little text message with an update, I'm sure will keep them patient. Okay, so without further ado, I'm so excited to introduce our guest speaker. She was actually scheduled to be on a couple months ago, and something in her personal life came up. And obviously we support our team members. That this business is built around making our focus, which is our personal life first, and then our business just supports our personal life. So she was kind enough to accept tonight as the night that she was going to share with us. She's been in a leadership position for over 20 years with a sales position in a company, very high, big company. And so she has, oh gosh, sorry, I just had like a twitch in my eye. She has accepted to share those leadership skills that she has learned throughout those years that she applies to her day job. And I call it a day job because I'm not going to say her full-time job, which it is, it's full-time, but in her mindset, I'm sure she'll share with you that Scentsy is her business, and then that's the side thing now, because this is her goal to make this full-time once she retires. And so without further ado, I'm excited to have Cindy Washum, Star Consultant, to unmute yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we dive right in.
Okay. My name is Cindy Washum. I signed up October 2015. When I first signed up, I thought, okay, I was gonna, I have a full-time job during the day. I was thinking about getting a part-time job. My daughter was just going to school, just helping to pay for some of that. So she was in her, actually it was right after she stopped going to school, and she came home and she had all these loans she had to pay for because she didn't complete her schooling. So I thought, okay, I want to help her a little bit. I'm gonna pay for some small loans. I didn't have time for a part-time job because my full-time job, being a supervisor, y'all know, I mean, it's salary and you're there until you get your tasks completed. So went over to a friend of ours house and they just said, Michelle was a former consultant, said, oh, look what I'm doing. I'm like, you know what? I'm starting to look for a part-time job. I don't have time for it. So she hands me the tester bag and goes, here, smell these. And I've heard of Scentsy before. My sister has it in her house. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. She really didn't have to push me or anything. All she did was hand me the bag of testers and says, here, smell these. I was like, oh, okay, that's it. Perfect. Because then I didn't have to spend the 20 hours outside of my home working for somebody else when I could be working inside my house for myself, 20, and not even having to put in 20 hours a week off the bat anyways. But like I said, I did start for my daughter. Then after a while, it kind of evolves. One of Ralph and I, one of our passions is helping and giving back. That's what I like about this company as well, because it's about giving back and generosity and giving back. And we sponsor a couple children in the Dominican Republic. We also sponsor a couple HIV children, which is very, very important to us. So we do that, and Scentsy's allowed me to do that. My why has changed, involved over the time that I've been with Scentsy. Since 2017, it involved me being able to once a quarter, or 18, I think it was, for me to travel once a quarter to my dad's house in Springfield, Missouri, because his health was not doing really good. So I went there once a quarter, and Scentsy helped me do that. And going back and being back there so often, my sister-in-law, Trista, also joined as well. So that was nice, but it allowed me to go back once a quarter, pretty much, which was awesome for me because we disconnected when I was 11, 12 years old and hadn't talked in many years, and we got reconnected. So being able to go back and see him once a quarter in this last couple of years has meant the world to me. As Jess was saying, that's what happened last month. My dad had passed away. He had stage 4 liver cancer. But I was very blessed and very grateful that I was able to go back and see him, and as often as I did, and just be able to pick up and say, I gotta go. And Scentsy has allowed me to do that because I do have the bonuses and stuff, from that, or commissions and stuff that, you can save and you can do this and do that. Anyways, I'm rambling, I'm sorry. But there's quite a few things in my day job. I do work for a timeshare company. They're pretty well known across the world, actually. I am a supervisor in the collections department. I have been a supervisor in our customer service department, our count resolution team, which handles complaints, and also to collections. I've been a supervisor since 2017. So one day when Jess and I were talking, something just clicked, and I'm like, oh, I do that in my day job. Oh, I do this in my job. Oh, I should be doing this with Scentsy. So a couple of things I do want to share with you guys. I am a very, very structured person at work. I make lists like crazy. They're all over right now I'm working from home, so they're in my other office. I make lists, and I cannot tell you all how satisfying it is to take a Sharpie and to draw a line across an item that I've completed. That's how I just love it. So I have a list of every day for my day job, what has to be done. I have a weekly list, and I have a monthly, a quarterly, by mid-year, and then an annual list. I'm like, why am I doing this all for work and not for Scentsy as well? Because Scentsy is where I want to be. And my other job has allowed me to kind of juggle both of them. And, like right now I was out for 2 months because I had ankle surgery. So I was able to do more Scentsy towards the end of it. And I was like, I kind of like this. Then I had my first bingo party, and I'm like, oh, I love this. So I just started getting more and more into it. But like I said, I am a list maker. I make lists. I do a daily. This is for a week right here. Well, a couple of things I do, and before I forget, I just want to mention this, Jess was talking earlier about shipping. And just to let you guys know, I've been not to bug them, but just to let them know, hey, your order's at this point in the process. It's been posted. When it gets printed, I'll email them or text them, you know, it's in this stage, it's still posted, sitting there posted, but I let them know all along the way where it's at. And that's really helped me. And also too, I've gotten orders before their first order even has come in, which is, you know, I was like, oh, you're ready to order already? Your other stuff hasn't come in yet. So, but on my weekly, what I do is I have it set up in my Outlook calendar because that's what I do at work. Plus I also write it down. The reason why I do that is because in my day job one time, I missed a meeting with a VP because my Outlook was down and I didn't have it written down. So it's not only in my Outlook to remind me, but I write it down also. And I know for some people that's repetitive, but I learned a very valuable lesson that day and I'll never do that again, right? It's just like having a meeting with Orville or something like that and missing it because your Outlook is down. I would never, ever forget myself. But on a weekly basis, I follow up with them, you know, on their shipping and where it's at in the process. When it ships, you know, I let them know, hey, it's shipped. Here's your tracking number. And, you know, it goes out. Every week we mail out samples, mail out thank you cards. If anybody, orders online that from the personal website, people that haven't been my customer before, I'll go ahead and I'll email them out a thank you card just for ordering, and I'll send them like maybe a car bar or something, you know, that I have on hand, and just send it out to them just as a thank you for, you know, searching me out. And because there's, you know, in our area up here, there's what, how many of us? Just like 12 or 13 of us at least, right? So she picked me, you know, and I've had like 3 or 4 of them in the last like 2 weeks. So the last lady that I dealt with, I sent her, you know, a bunch of stuff, but that's what we try to do every week or right after we get a personal website order, we go ahead and we do that. Last month I had was it last month? No, in April we had bingo. So we sent out, I always send out something to the VIP group. I've been sending out, you know, thank you cards. Because a lot of times what I'll do for the VIPs, I'll send it out and I'll say, okay, well, what do you guys think about this? Or would you be interested in this? Or can you be my guinea pigs for this or for that? So when I do stuff like that, I'll send them a thank you card for, you know, allowing me to do that. Set up meeting times or video chats with the team. I have a sister in Pennsylvania that just signed up a couple weeks ago. And she's actually moving out here to Vegas, so I can't wait for you guys all to meet her. So I've been doing a lot of that. Also too, on my weekly list, packaging up new orders that come in. Ralph checks them in. We, depending upon what's going on, we'll both label them, and then we put them, you know, in a nice bag. But those are just some of the things I do, but I just write it all down. Because for me, the satisfying thing is to mark it off my list that I've completed it. That to me is the ultimate. Like I said, I schedule a lot of stuff through Outlook. Every morning, the first thing that's on my daily list is to look at the news tab because it does change so often. So that I make it the first thing on my list. And then I'm constantly, I hope nobody's on here from work. I'm constantly checking it through the day. Like, for example, today with the Marvel stuff and with Perry going on sale, I was constantly looking at it and just updating everybody. So just things like that I do. Having conversations. I mean, like my sister and my sister-in-law live far away, but just calling them up, having conversations with your team, even just to say hi, hello. And I learned this from work is that even though some of us have gone back to work, some of us haven't, so we're still inside the house. So just calling them and just letting them know that you're there for them. I have a very small team right now. There's only 5 on my team, 4 frontline and 1, my daughter-in-law has a team member. But, or is it 6? I don't know, I can't remember. Sorry, I should know that information, right? But just touching bases with them all the time. I learned from my day job that that's something very important to do. It's not just, hey, I'm gonna call and talk to you about business. I wanna know how you're doing, how your day's going, if you're still at home, if you've actually gone into work yet, and how that's going, you know, if they do have, you know, another job as well. But scheduling things, scheduling meetings, I'm a big schedule person. To say, I had some more written down on them. But just the limited time offers that are available. So I've been spending more time like reading up on things, and so I can pass that on to the team. Also to taking more training myself, scheduling out for once a week or once every other week, and then saying, hey, to the team, you know, I took this really cool training on the training modules, you know, inside the workstation, and they're very interesting, and here's what I learned. So taking that, what you learned, and passing it on. At work, we call it a teach back. You take something, you learn it, you teach it back to a couple people, and then it becomes, you know, part of your routine. I thought I would have more to talk about.
Can I ask you some questions?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So as a supervisor at your job, what do you think is the hardest thing you had to learn as far as being in a supervisor position and dealing with people on your team at work? Like, was there a certain time you said you had a big lesson when you forgot to, or your Outlook went down and you didn't have it written down, you missed a meeting? Has there been any specific circumstance that you were in at your work as a supervisor that you were like, okay, this is something I need to, you know, it was hard for you to kind of do the first time, but it took you a practice to handle? I mean, I know that's kind of broad, but in a leadership scenario.
So when I was growing up in the business at my job, I had a really good friend of mine that was also my leader, and she continued to be throughout my career there, off and on. I've always been taught, you know, you have to learn when to draw the line, when to have that crucial conversation with somebody. And I can be friends with you, like my wonderful friend Melissa here. I posted something a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't look at it like she did, but she said, you know, hey, take a second look at this because I don't think you meant it the way it sounded. But that's part of that crucial conversation, knowing when to, yes, you're my friend and I don't want to hurt you. I love you. I care about you, but this is business. And it wasn't about business, but it was about something else. But still, she had a different perception. Just learning others' different perceptions, knowing when you could have to draw that line from being a friend to being a mentor or a supervisor. And it's a very fine line, but it's also too where, like with my team, I am the first person at work. I'm the first person to say what a good job Hector's doing or Sean's doing. But when something comes up where they're doing things repeatedly, their behaviors, when they're repeating the same behavior and it's either inconsistent or it's incorrect, saying, hey, here's what's going on, here's what we found, you know, let's listen to it, let's try to correct that and do it differently. That's a really big thing for me, to be able for them to know I love them, I care about them, they're my team, but also to know that I'll be the first one I'm very direct, everybody pretty much knows that, but I'm the first one to say what a great job you're doing, but when you're doing something wrong, I'll respectfully say, hey, let's just get together and talk about how we can correct this.
Well, that's a great example. I'm glad you shared that specific one, because that's actually something that I struggled with from the beginning and sometimes still do, because this type of a business structure, we tend to get real good friendships and relationships, almost like family, with the people that are in your team. And so, and you tend to have more of a friendship than business until they really decide to make it a business. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, if they're not doing the consistency things that they need to do, you almost sometimes feel bad, like you're telling them they're not doing enough, but it's just because you love them that you want to tell them, okay, this is what needs to happen if you want your goals to be met, right? So that's definitely a scenario that a lot of leaders have struggled with, including myself, of where that line gets drawn as far as when my mentor hat or coach hat comes on and the friend, you know, that's really big.
Building that relationship with them, and I just lost what I was going to say.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, but you know, building that relationship with them and then finding out from them, because like, you know, we can lead them to the watering hole, but we can't make them drink.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't wish to make this as a business, that's fine. You know, so getting to know them more and being able to see, okay, you want to make this as a business, this is just a hobby right now. Or even the friends that you speak with, or the people that you speak with that you ask to, or you share with, to join, and you offer them the join specials or maybe the hostess packet, and they keep telling you no, but you actively listen to them when they're talking all the time. And I'm not saying offer it every single month, but I have a friend that I've been offering this to since 2015. And this is the first time she said, okay, well, let's just take my friend Michelle from work. She's like, well, her husband's not working now and some other things going on. She says, well, all right. She says, let me just take 1 week just to really just think. And I says, well, I go, there's so many different ways to do this. I says, there is the hostess kit where you can do it. You can buy, you can use your hostess credits to go towards the hostess kit. I said, or there's the $100 kit. Yes, the $99 kit, is the best deal. And explained to her everything that was in it, but never give up. Always, unless somebody tells you, no, I don't want to do this, don't ask me anymore, don't give up, because this is the closest that Michelle has ever been to saying yes. So
that's awesome. So have you ever dealt with, in your day job and in your leadership position, with maybe there was somebody that was kind of caught, like bringing down the morale of the office or the team, you know, culture? Have you ever had to have that kind of one-on-one with them of letting them know how their attitude or their just whatever they're passing on to the you know, the office is kind of affecting everybody? Have you ever had one of those hard conversations, and how did you go about it?
at work, we have this, and it's actually helped me in so many aspects of my life, with my family, with Scentsy, with a lot of things. It's called Crucial Conversations. And I don't know, maybe I can find something, a link for you guys. It's a class, it's called Crucial Conversations. It shows you how to have that conversation where you're sticking just to the facts. You're leaving the feelings out of it and your perspective. Per se, you're going in step. Okay, this is the situation that happened. Here's what actions you took. Here was the outcome, and here how it affected this over here. So, for example, when I took over a team in collections, that we had a few agents that were negative, and what ended up happening is, as newer agents were coming on, it got them that way too. So I had that crucial conversation with her. I said, you know, people look at you as a leader when you say this or this is what happens, and just try to give them that crucial conversation as far as negative, and maybe come to me one-on-one where you're not saying it across like the team page, or you're not, you know, out there. Because you're, what, in my perspective, what you're doing with that is you're negatively affecting not only your brand, your personal brand, but the brand of your business, the brand of Scentsy, your personal page, your personal Scentsy page, or, you know, whatever, your business page. But that's just something that everybody knows that's at work, knows that's one of my pet peeves, and that doesn't happen too often.
Well,
But, and also too, just one of the things I've learned over the years is just learning everybody. Learning, I guess what I'm trying to say, I'm visual and I have to see things and I have to do things. So being able to, when you, what am I trying to say? Get to know somebody, know how they learn, know how they, if they're visual, if they just have to see it or if they just have to read something. If I had to read a whole bunch and not have visual, I would be in so much trouble. But not everybody learns like I do. Somebody can watch a YouTube video and one time and boom, they have it. Me, I'm watching it 5 and 6 times. But things like that, yeah.
okay.
Learning them so you know how to teach back to them, mentor them, coach them. And actually, I did not know that there was a difference between mentoring and coaching until I learned it from Jess on one of our calls.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big life changer when you realize what the difference is.
Oh, yeah.
So in your company, when you're doing like a mass training, because of that, because that's so true, everybody learns differently. How does your company provide training for like a large group? Do they kind of narrow it down to a couple different types of learning styles, or do they have all the different, I think, what is there for visual, audio, reading, hear, and then I forget the fourth one, but there's, yeah, the audio, hearing, and then hands-on. So do you have an answer to that, or do you even know like how your company provides that type of training for groups?
They have several. They have online training, they have in the class training, and on some of it, I have 2 people on my team that are hands-on. Okay. So I show them, and this is of course when we were in the office. It's totally different now, but we have like a general team meeting, talk to everybody, show everybody if it's like just a small adjustment. But I have 2 agents that I do have to say, okay, you guys, at a later time, I'll bring them in, and not so that everybody can see me and everybody knows, but at a later time, I'll bring them back to my desk and we'll just walk through it. But those 2, I know they're hands-on and they're very visual.
Okay.
So, I mean, I guess I maybe even learned that from being a bartender, just to get to know the people. I may not have remembered your name all the time, but I know what you drank. And that's kind of like the same thing. You have to get to know them.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm losing my words. Oh my gosh.
That's
when we coach them and mentor them. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that the most people generally do learn to at least an extent by visual and audio. And so like when you're able to add another tool, another form of it, it's just a bonus. So that's interesting, because yeah, the bigger your team gets, it's kind of hard to, sit down with everybody and, critique how they learn. But if you have like a mass type of training like this, like they could be listening and watching, and if they need more like documents to read, we can refer them to things like so that they can read if they reach out to us. Correct. Type thing, and let us know they need more. Melissa, since you're on live, do you have any questions that might be specific to leadership that she might be able to enlighten us with?
I think you guys addressed a lot of my questions. I think you guys addressed a lot of my questions. And I love your lists. Lists are awesome. I was thinking you should put on your list, create list, check. Mark something off on your list, check.
Also too, one thing I learned that's very valuable for me, like in a setting even like this, is make sure everybody's voice is heard. Because like right now we have a lot of Zoom meetings at work because we're all, of course, working from home. So, but we don't have audio for all the video for all the agents at home. They don't have cameras on their computers. But just allowing and making sure that my quiet ones get an opportunity to say something. You know, do you have any questions about this, or what do you think about that? Just to kind of bring them into the fold, because I do that very easily at work when we're all sitting there around my desk. It's a little bit harder to pull it out of them when we're, you know, on a Zoom call like this. So I found, because we had like a roundtable discussion the other day, and that's something that's really important to them. They just want to make sure that they're heard, especially during this time.
What a great point. I was just on a conference call with a bunch of, probably about 3 other superstar directors. And one of the things that one of them said is that the most important thing is that consultants just need to know that they're heard. They said that. And she talked about how when they're reaching out to you for coaching, you may not necessarily be the person that is going to provide that coaching.
Correct.
But to connect them with the person that might be the person they would be coaching with. And so we're recognizing their need, but maybe directing them. And this is in my position. So since I have other people under other directors, I'm not necessarily going to coach everybody in my entire downline, but they can reach out to me and I can direct them to the right person, like their director, and say, hey, Cindy's looking for some coaching on this specific, subject. I think this would be a great coaching opportunity for the two of you. And then that would connect them, because sometimes consultants tend to go above and over their direct sponsor or director, not because they don't respect them or think they have the knowledge, but because me personally, I can't say for everybody else, but I personally make myself known that I'm here to help, with vocally saying, contact me. And so they kind of just go straight to me. And so, which as your business grows, you can't coach every single person in your downline. You have to kind of do the tier of connection. And I thought that was really interesting, because to be honest with you, it made me go, because I kind of felt like I was abandoning them. if they're coming straight to me saying, I want to be coached with you, I don't want to be the person to make them think like you're not worth my time or something, but more kind of setting up the expectation of, going to your first line of communication, then your second, which would be your director, like your sponsor director. And then if your director isn't helping, then that's when I would be available. And so, and she used that word, and that expression is that they need to be heard. And so I could make sure they're heard by me, and then give that director or sponsor the opportunity to actually support their team members without wiping them out of the equation, basically. So that was a good.
That kind of reminds me of the 80-20 rule that I use at work, and it's the same thing. You focus on 20% of your employees or your team members, your business partners, to help bring up the other 80%. And you do that a lot too.
Yes, that's exactly. We have that in Scentsy too, that literally 20% of your business is going, of your team is going to do 80% of your business. So we have that same thing, that 80-20 rule, but it's in a different, and what that means is that your leaders are going to have, like, your 20% of your leaders are going to be doing the 80% of your volume. And so that's how you know where to focus on, who to really support, because they're actually doing the majority of the business. And so, and the rest are going to be like hobbyists, which are absolutely wonderful and we need, but we're not going to spend an hour on the phone with somebody that's just, placing orders for themselves as a hobby, if that makes sense. So it's how leaders can kind of determine where they're going to put their energy with coaching and support. I'm glad you said that.
Another thing I learned over the years is, I don't know how to politely say this, so I'm just going to go ahead and say it.
Go for it.
You have, like I said earlier, you have to learn each individual. And this was very relevant to me when I came back from my 2 months, because I'm never out of work. I mean, if I'm on vacation, it's 5-6 days, maybe 10 days at the most. I've never taken off a 2-month leave of absence. So when I came back, you know, you have to learn everybody, and there are some team members, business partners that can be difficult at times. They ask you all the questions, and they won't use their resources. So learning how to drive them towards their resources is very, very important. If they're the type that likes to get confirmation on everything, it's back to that crucial conversation. It's back to, this information. I'll point you where it's at, and we'll talk about it. We'll talk through it, the how and the why, and then encourage them to start looking themselves. And sometimes you have to be very careful on how you encourage them to look for themselves, because then they think, well, maybe you're not helping me. But the big aha I got when I got back from my leave of absence is there is one agent at work that is like that. And no matter how you try to drive her towards the resources, she just won't go there. She keeps asking and asking, but explaining to her, so this last 2 months, what have you been doing since I haven't been here? Who have you been reaching out to? Well, I usually don't get my answers because nobody will answer me. I'm like, okay, so and walk them through the how and the whys. So that seems to help.
I love that you brought that up, because I will tell you, one of the one hard lesson I learned as a leader early on in my business, it was probably my first year. And I think as just women and moms, we're just lovable people. We want to love on everybody. We want to support them in any way that we can. And one thing that I didn't really process is that, I know it's embarrassing to say it, but I didn't process that everybody's a grown adult on our team. They're all over 18 years old. They're not little kids. I had tiny little babies, toddlers, when I started my business. So I kind of treated my team members like little toddlers, like, oh, I'll do that for you, and oh, I'll get that for you. And in my mind, I was like, oh, well, I have more time than they do, because they have a day job. I don't. This Scentsy's all I do. Even though I had 2 toddlers running around, which is a full-time job in itself, I took on like more work than I needed to, and I almost burnt myself out. And it wasn't until I was literally at the bottom of my barrel of like literally tears saying, I can't keep up with everybody. I can't do this, and I realized that I got that the scenario of how to teach somebody how to feed a village or something. You teach them to fish instead of you go and try to individually feed them, and that kind of visual, because somebody sent me a picture of that, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. And so there was this one gal though that she's not on our team anymore, so I can tell the story, but she actually was very specific with wanting me to mentor her and coach her. And I honestly didn't know the difference at the time. I kind of more mentored, and just whatever was working for me, I would share with her. And so she was determined to become a director and earn her first incentive trip, which she ended up earning her first incentive trip. But when it didn't result in the title of a director, she pointed fingers straight back at me saying, you told me if I did this, 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 and this, I'd become a director. And that was a big aha for me, because that's what I did to become a director. And I had to learn later that everybody's journey is going to be different. The way I deliver things, like I'm the only one, Jess Markowitz. So how I handle things, even just having a conversation with people, is going to be different if I tell somebody to do exactly what I did, because the way I look at it in my mind, the way I deliver it, everything is going to be different. And she literally like ripped me a new one. Like I was a horrible director. I'm a horrible person. And I mean, she put me to tears, and it took me to realize that I was only hurting myself by giving every single step. She had to learn the journey on her own. And so from that experience, I learned that I had to direct, like, okay, what is the title that we're all seeking to have, meaning that we're growing a business, we're growing a team. That's where the director part comes about. And so I led with that, saying, okay, I'm supposed to direct. It doesn't say give. It's not the title of the giver or the do it for them. And like Laura, long story short is that I realized that when somebody would come to me with a question, okay, Melissa, thank you. When somebody would come to me with a question, I'd automatically answer it. And it wasn't, that's not how they're going to learn, right? Because how did I get that answer? You know, what if I can't answer the question? What if I'm out on leave, like Cindy was gone for 2 months, and this person's just sitting around waiting for Cindy to get back, not getting her work done? And the same thing with us. If you're waiting for your sponsor, your director, your superstar director to give you the answer, you're only hurting your business instead of trying to go find it. Like you can, if you take the time to search, and it might take you a while, but when their sponsor comes to you and says, oh, that's in the resource, or I'm sorry, old brain for the old workstation, that's in the in the Scentsy success part under training, then you're teaching them to go where they're going to find it, and then they have to put a little work in to figure out where that answer is. And it may be a little frustrating because it's not immediate gratification that it's right there, but guess what's going to happen? They're going to find a bunch of other tools that they didn't know they needed and didn't know were there. And they're going to go, oh, okay. And then if they don't do something specifically, it doesn't work out the way they were hoping to, the only person they can actually blame or be upset with is themselves. They can't point the finger at the leader. And I put myself in that position way too many times for people to basically point the finger at me saying, well, you said that I do this and this is what's going to happen. And it was only coming from my heart because that was reality for me, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen that way.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that totally, when you were sharing that experience, it totally brought me back to that because she sat around and would like wait until I'd answer a question. And so what another person taught me at my first leadership retreat at Becca Levi's leadership retreats, her name is, oh gosh, now I forget her name. I know, Tracy Odell. Okay, so she's like the second Shining Star winner for like 2005 or something. She's amazing. And one thing she said to me is, as a leader, we all want to help, but you'll find if somebody texts you or messaged you or leaves you a message saying, hey, I need this answer, if you let it go for a little while, it's more the people that are driven and want to learn and want to get their business going and don't want to wait for you. They're going to dig and they're going to maybe reach out to somebody else and they're going to get their answer. And by the time you call them back, hey, did you get that? They're going to be like, oh yeah. It's done. So we don't have to be the person, and we shouldn't be the person that's going to make or break their business for that day or that week or that month, as far as the answers, because I'm here to tell you, I don't know all the answers, but I might be able to direct you to where to find it. And that's the way all of us, whether you're a lead consultant with one person on your team or, a director that has, tons of people on your team. It's the same structure.
It also depends upon, the person's, motivation or their initiative, if they're going to be intentional. Because there are, your sponsor may not be someone that wants to grow their business. Maybe it is just a hobbyist, but you signed up underneath them because, they're a friend of yours or whatever the situation may be. So if this is something that you really want, you'll take the initiative and you'll look through the training. I know a lot of people aren't, sometimes their DNA doesn't do that, but if you help them and if you tell them that I'm a big how and a why person. If you'll gain a lot of information if looking through this. If you follow the first things first list, this is what you'll learn. And I don't say this is how I do it anymore.
It's a hard pill to swallow, right? It's a hard thing to learn because,
yes,
especially if it works for you. You feel like, well, it worked for me. Why would it? And it very well may work for them that way, but we don't know. So we don't want to put ourselves on the chopping block for them to say, oh, if I do this, this, and this is going to happen, like that lady did, and literally made me feel like I was this small and I was this horrible person because she didn't get the result that she wanted, But when you think about it, the person that attacks somebody that's trying to help, it's very likely their attitude probably wasn't in the right place, right? And that's what kind of got me over, like, okay, maybe it's not your fault, Jess. You were trying to help. If it didn't work out and her heart was in the right place, she would have been like, thank you for helping me, but this isn't working for me. Can you direct me in a different direction that maybe it'll work better for me or something? I was going to use you as an example, Cindy, what you just said. I did not sponsor you directly. Michelle, like you said, was your sponsor. She was my front line, and she was very much a hobbyist. And so she placed her order every couple months, which was fine and wonderful. And she did not tell me she was going to do anything different than that. So I knew what her criteria was. But I was shocked when she all of a sudden had a new team member. I was like, okay, she's recruiting now. How did this work out? But then she told me herself that, I'm not changing the way I want to do my business. My friend just wanted to join. And that is probably the most exciting part of this business, is that people that, you sponsor that just stay hobbyists may find your diamond in the rough for you. And then you're able to, create that relationship. And what Cindy said is that her sponsor wasn't exactly the person that was doing trainings and, trying to mentor her and coach her, but she was driven and she was motivated and she knew what she wanted. So she reached out to me. She showed up to team meetings on her own, didn't care that her sponsor was there or not. And our relationship grew. So the coolest part was when her sponsor decided that Scentsy wasn't what she wanted to do anymore, it wasn't like an awkwardness between her and I. Like, it was like, okay, now I'm your sponsor. Like, hi there, Cindy. What, so she took the initiative to reach out to people that do want to support her. And so I treated her like a frontline anyways, because I knew that her goals were different than her sponsors, and her sponsor wouldn't necessarily provide or know where the tools are that she may need for her business. So, and that was the same thing with, Director Lauren Clift. I sponsored somebody that was just a hobbyist, and she found Lauren Clift. And so that's why it's so important to get people on board. Even if they say, yes, we would love them to say, I want to be a superstar director from the second they join, but very likely not going to happen. And you just don't know if their circumstances change, or their sister or their friend or whoever they sponsor ends up being that diamond in the rough leader that wants to grow a business. And then you get to coach and mentor them to provide a business for them, which is exciting. So
goes back to not giving up on asking, because their situations changed. And 5 years ago it was like, okay, whatever. But now, just keep asking. Things are different now. It's different all over the place right now. But doing online things, parties and stuff through Zoom or through Facebook Live or making a group or whatever, our world is different now. But don't give up and don't stop asking, because like my friend Michelle at work, she doesn't like to get up in big crowds, but online she feels more comfortable. She was at my bingo party helping me out. So, things like that. So,
well, I want to point out what you said in the very beginning, how your original sponsor got you to be interested in joining. She just literally handed you testers, and that was all that she needed to do. That it's sometimes that simple, is getting the product under their nose. And, I'm not going to say that that's all that's going to happen and you're going to get new team members, but don't underestimate how powerful, offering the products and the testers to somebody can be that powerful and that simple. If somebody's ready and they know they need an extra leg of income, like Cindy did, all she needed to know is where that opportunity was that provided the income without the 20 hours of work. So it could be that simple. And I think that a lot of people, even including myself, I'm not, opposed to being human. And so we sometimes judge thinking, oh, this person is a high profile in her business. She, is a top dog in her company. She doesn't need any extra leg of income, or, she wouldn't want to do Scentsy. So we have to remember that we really don't know until we offer it. We really don't. It doesn't. And there's people that have, honestly, when you think about it, if Cindy would have told you from the get-go that she is a supervisor at a really very well-known company and has been there for 20 years in a leadership position, there's a lot of reasons why you would say, okay, she probably makes really good money. She doesn't need extra income. You know, oh, she's too busy. You know, all these things we could say for her. But if Michelle didn't just plop it on her lap, she would have never found out that there was reasons on the side that she needs Scentsy in her life, which is so incredible. Oh my goodness, my friend Cindy, I love you so much. You're so awesome, and I learn so much from you all the time. So since our only live people had to jump off, I don't see any questions, but it's so hard with the live on Facebook. I think I don't see anything, and then there's questions. So if there's any questions that I don't see, and you may have asked a question to Cindy, just go ahead and comment in the Facebook live feed, and I'm sure, and tag Cindy if there's something you want her to answer. I'm sure she'll be happy to answer that. And if I see it, I'll ask Cindy for you. Thank you so much. I thought this was the perfect example because so many team members separate their Scentsy business from their professions and these skills that they have under their belts, and don't realize if they marry them, their business will be so much more powerful and simple, which is how we're supposed to keep our business, right? With the simplicity core value. And so we all start our businesses with different skill levels. But if we start and focus on the skills that we already have, then our business can be that much stronger. And then we kind of know where we need to strengthen. Like, oh, you know, here's my list of strengths. I'm actually going to be talking about this at reunion, so we're kind of hearing a little bit of what I'm going to say, but you know, here's my list of strengths. And then okay, and where are my weaknesses in my business? You may find that one of the strengths you have can actually help you with one of the weaknesses that you didn't even realize connect, which is so cool. And I think as humans, we tend to focus on everything we're not good at first. And I'm not good at this, I don't have this, I don't have, and never even focus on anything that we're good at. So instead, flip that mindset and focus on everything that's good and that you already have. Even if it's making a sandwich at Subway when you were, you know, 18 years old, you know, what skills did you have to learn in order to make that sandwich, you know? All right, my friend, I love you. Thank you so much for sharing your skills and your heart. And this was an awesome call you shared. So I got a list of notes here I'm excited about. So enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you so much for taking the time to share all your awesomeness with us.
Thank you. Bye, guys. Thank you very much.
Bye, Cindy. Bye, everyone.